Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm back with another NBA video. I'm doing the third part of my Looking Back at Hot Takes series, and after looking at everything I have, I can probably do another 2 videos after this one. I know I said I'd have 4, but I can do 5 now, so hopefully you guys enjoy it and will watch all 5. If not, I'm sorry, but it's what I have, and I really want to kind of get through all of them instead of just sort of stopping halfway through. But for the most part, you guys probably know what the videos are about now, so let's just get right into it. The first hot take for this video is that Tyler Herro will win Rookie of the Year. And coming into the season, I don't know how many people thought that just because Zion and John Morant and stuff, but he was very solid coming out of college, and he did start out the season very hot. Like, he was in contention. Him and Kendrick Nunn both were in contention for Rookie of the Year because they were sort of key pieces for why Miami was like the 3 seed at the beginning of the season, or the 2 seed or something like that. And he finished out the season averaging about 13, 2, and 4. Obviously the season's not complete yet. There's some games going to be played in Orlando and then the playoffs and stuff, but he's not going to win it. You know, John Morant's just been out of this league. And again, he had a solid season, but he did have some injury issues sort of in the middle of the season where he missed some games, and he started off really strong, but as the season progressed, you know, obviously those seasons long, 82 games is a lot different than the college series and like the college games and stuff. So, he started off strong, but I guess he probably just didn't adjust to the length of the NBA season quite yet. And, you know, it'll take some time, but he had a very solid season. So while he's not Rookie of the Year, he's probably going to finish top 5 in voting. And the second hot take is that Zion will average less than 16 points. And on the season, he averaged about 23.5 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. Very small sample size, though. He only played like 20 games. Not even 20 games, I don't think. He played like somewhere around the 15-20 game mark. You know, a lot of people were expecting that he would come back sooner than he did. But obviously the Pelicans are being very careful with him because he's their future. Him and Brandon Ingram, so he didn't play as many games, and I think if there was a longer sample size, his stats wouldn't be as great as they are now. Obviously, he'd still be very good because we've seen what he can do on the court, but they might not be as amazing as they are right now just because, you know, again, we just talked about it, the season's very long, he's got to get adjusted to it. But I can definitely see where this was coming from. You know, he's got some injury issues already before he played his first NBA game, just from, you know, the NCAA to his first game. He'd already had like 3 major injuries, you know, where he got hurt in the summer league for a few games, he got hurt in the preseason, and then obviously, you know, he didn't play in the regular season up until post All-Star break, really. So I could see where he was coming from, just getting adjusted into the league, but, you know, we just didn't have as big of a sample size to see what Zion is really about. And the next hot take is that the Lakers will finish as the 3 seed. And right now, they're pretty convincingly the 1 seed in the Western Conference. It's not super close. The Clippers are, you know, a close second, but they're not, you know, going to be doing it. And then, like, if the Lakers lose out in the next 8 games and the Clippers win out, they might overtake them, but it's not super close right now. I talked about this in one of my previous hot take videos, but LeBron and Anthony Davis have been playing great all season, and obviously people were projecting LeBron to sort of take a little bit of a step back, which he didn't do. But even considering that the Warriors had all their injuries, they were projected to be doing really well with just Steph Curry, you know, hopefully having an MVP type season. But, you know, obviously that didn't happen with his injury. The Blazers had some injuries and sort of just fell off completely. They're really missing Yusuf Nurkic, I think. You know, Hassan Whiteside's a solid player, but he's one of those guys that after he gets his certain stat line where he'll get his, you know, 15 points, 15 rebounds, and he sort of mentally checks out of the game and stops caring. So, you know, as a backup, I think he'd be good, or if he just tried throughout the entire game, he'd be good, but obviously he doesn't do that. So it really just shows how much they miss Yusuf Nurkic. Zach Collins might not statistically be amazing, but he's a very solid player for them. You know, Trevor Ariza is doing all right, but ideally you wouldn't want him really getting serious minutes for you, especially at his age. Same with Melo. He's their starting power forward, I believe, which again isn't ideal, but they still have a chance to make the playoffs, which is good. But yeah, no, they sort of fell off, and obviously people were expecting them to do super amazing after what they did last year. Obviously, they got swept by the Warriors in the conference finals, but every game they were leading by like double digits at halftime and just sort of threw it away. And another team, Houston, they were supposed to be doing really well now with James Harden and Russell Westbrook, but they struggled at the beginning of the season. James Harden has been having a slump for James Harden standards, I guess. He's not putting up, 40, 50 a game. His stats dropped a little bit, but obviously a slight drop for James Harden is still one of the best players in the league. But they had some chemistry issues with him and Russell Westbrook early on, so I think a lot of these teams that were supposed to do really well sort of didn't. And obviously the Lakers are still a great team, but they might not be in the same position if everything had gone the way people projected it to at the beginning of the season, because obviously these are all preseason hot takes. None of these, obviously we didn't see how any of this stuff could have played out. So there was a definite possibility for the Lakers being the 3 seed, but everything sort of just fell into place for them at the end. And that's why I don't think this one was super off the mark considering all the circumstances. And the next hot take is that the Hawks are a playoff team. And I was one of those people that, going up into the season, there was a lot of analysts and, first take and stuff were talking about how the Hawks are a serious threat to make the playoffs. They were doing the same thing with the Bulls too. And I'm one of those people that's like, slow down. They're still a growing team. They're still young. They have a lot of work to do before they reach that spot. And obviously making the playoffs in the Eastern Conference isn't hard, but there is still some level of competition there. And I just felt like people were sort of rushing into it too much. Obviously, Trae Young's a great offensive player, but his defense needs work. John Collins had a 25-game suspension, and, they have players like DeAndre Hunter, who's in his first year. Cam Reddish was in his first year. Kevin Huerter, he was in his second year, and he sort of took a little bit of a step back. He had that sophomore slump that a lot of players have, but I think he'll be a solid player in the future, but this team just overall wasn't ready. Lloyd Pierce is still a young, unexperienced coach, so he's still got to grow as a coach. So this team has a lot more they need to do before I can really consider them a serious playoff threat. Again, obviously in the next few years they will be, but they just weren't ready yet. The next hot take is that Dillon Brooks averages more than 17 points per game this season. And on the season he averaged 16, 3, and 3, which are very good numbers. He took a major jump from last season, which a lot of people I don't think saw coming. So props to him. This was really close actually. And it's something I don't think anyone really saw coming. He's become a solid scorer for the Grizzlies. John Morant's obviously doing his thing, but he's a great playmaker. He's setting up his teammates. He's making some good passes, and those sort of things help a player like Dillon Brooks excel. I don't think he's one of those players that can sort of take over a game and be a main player, but he's a very good secondary option for that team. He's a good player for sure. He's improved greatly, and I definitely could see him improving to even becoming maybe a 20-point-per-game scorer in the future. It's definitely a real possibility. He was only in his 3rd season. He's going into his 4th season, so obviously there's still a lot of room to grow, and I think in the future, again, like I said, he can be a 20-point-per-game scorer. He might be one of those players that makes the All-Star team once or twice in his career, because I can definitely see that he has potential to do that. And the last hot take I'm going to cover for this video is that the Hornets will end up being better than the Suns this year. And obviously after Kemba left the Hornets, the franchise was basically doomed from the start. I don't think anyone saw them being, even as well as they were this season. Obviously, the Suns aren't a super amazing team either, but they finished with 26 wins while the Hornets had 23. So not entirely accurate, but they were very close. And I think even though the Hornets only had 23 wins up to this point, it's definitely viewed as greater than their expectations because they were supposed to be arguably the worst team in the league, and they were sort of in the playoff hunt for a little bit. And obviously, you can attribute some of that to Devontae Graham breaking out. He put up about 18 points, 7.5 assists, 3.5 rebounds around there. A massive improvement from last season that I don't think many people saw coming, and I think Kemba Walker plays a part in that, just being able to study his game all of last season. And he just came out and filled that role. Not necessarily to the point Kemba can, because Kemba's an all-star, one of the best point guards in the league, but for such a young player, he did a great job. And Terry Rozier also had a solid season. He also put up about 18, 4, and 4. So maybe his contract isn't exactly ideal, but he did have a solid season for them. Miles Bridges improved greatly. I still see he can improve more in the future. and PJ Washington came in and had a pretty solid rookie season. For someone that I think a lot of people, he went under the radar for a lot of people. But on the Suns side, obviously they had a better record slightly, but early on in the season, which I guess sort of happens a lot with this team, but coming in, they brought in Ricky Rubio after. I can't believe I'm saying that. As a Pacers fan, I'm happy, but they gave away TJ Warren for like a little bit of cash. I guess it was meant to be a salary dump, and then they used that to bring in Ricky Rubio, who was a solid player, but I mean, this team might be a little better if they had TJ Warren, especially because Kelly Oubre, he played really well as a starting small forward. So imagine if you had both Kelly Oubre and TJ Warren to sort of split those minutes. That's a pretty good combination. And then, at the start of the season, they were playing really well. Ricky Rubio was playing well for, his role just being a ball distributor. They were winning a lot of games. Monty Williams was looking like the savior of Phoenix, but they sort of obviously fell off. Ricky Rubio had some injury issues, and DeAndre Ayton's 25-game suspension definitely didn't help, but this team is still kind of young. I don't really know how else they can improve, because they spent a lot of their money on Ricky Rubio and keeping Kelly Oubre, which I think they still have to do. He might have signed his extension. I'm not actually too sure about that, but they had a better season than the Hornets, but again, that's not saying too much. The Suns were another one of those teams where a lot of people just sort of didn't know what they were going to do this season. Nobody thought they were going to be really good. So they were sort of on the same boat coming into the season. But again, the Hornets were supposed to be one of the worst teams in the league after losing Kemba. But they were both pretty close in record, I guess. But obviously the Suns were just a little bit better. And that's going to wrap up this video. Like I said, I'm going to do 2 more parts of these hot takes videos for you guys. If you enjoy them, subscribe for more content. I try to upload every few days as consistently as I can. Like the video. Just let me know that you want more. Comment any video suggestions you have. I do NBA content, hip-hop and rap content, and just anything that I really find interesting. So, comment down if you have any video suggestions for me to do. And, that's all I got. Thanks for watching.